Okay. I think we are live, Joe.
Yes, we are live.
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Community Board 10, April 18th, 2022 General Board Meeting. I'd like to start the meeting this evening, as we always do, with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, all right, give me a minute.
Okay, so Josephine has our flag graphic up, so if you'd all start. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Josephine. And now I would call for an adoption of the agenda.
Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Julie. And also an adoption of the minutes, please. Thank you, Doris. And who else do I have here? Thank you, Preston. Now, I would like to move on to the public session. We're going to try to limit this to 10 minutes if we can. So this evening, our first speaker we have signed up. And again, if there are elected officials here who do want to speak, please so indicate to Josephine in the chat so that we can get you on the list. So we have with us Michael Shelton from Councilman Justin Brannan's office.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Just a quick hello tonight from Councilman Brannan. I'll try to help you meet your 10-minute goal. But yeah, Justin wanted to be here himself tonight, but he is still recovering from surgery he just had. He had a cornea transplant in an attempt to treat his keratoconus. So he will be back in action soon. I'm sure he will have plenty of updates for you next month, but he just wanted to say hello and that everything's going okay so far with his recovery.
Which hospital? Which hospital?
I believe he was at Langone, but I need to double check.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Michael. And we have here signed up David Sosa from Assemblymember Marcella Matinier's office.
Good evening. Sosa, office of Assemblymember Marcella Martinez, 718-492-6334. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
We also have Jessica Callow from Borough President Antonio Reynoso's office. Jessica, are you with us today?
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
How you doing, Lori?
Good.
I'm just here to say hello to everyone and hope everyone is having had a happy Easter or a happy Passover. And I want to tell everybody about tomorrow's iftar dinner that the Borough President is hosting. We are having it at Borough Hall, and it starts at 6:30. Dinner is going to be at 7:45-ish around, and it's our first big event at Borough Hall, so we're very excited. And we're really putting to use our community room, so please join us if you can. Otherwise, I'm here if anybody has any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jessica. And we have Anastasia Yaskova from Brooklyn Borough Director, as the Brooklyn Borough Director from the Mayor's office.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Good to see you. Happy holidays, happy Pascha holidays. And a few talking points that I have for today. First of all, Mayor Adams is back from quarantine. So today is his first day at work physically. And as you know, earned income tax credit enhanced in state budget after Mayor Adams' advocacy. Also, state budget wins for New York City childcare after Mayor Adams' advocacy as well. And allocation of $4 billion over 4 years for childcare, which will ensure that childcare providers and workers have the necessary resources to run successfully with the programs. Then the new multi-agency initiative to bring city services directly to New Yorkers in underserved communities. This is a mobile unit, and it will visit all 5 boroughs to deliver municipal services, including financial empowerment resources, benefit screening, small business support, career services, health insurance education, and much more. Also, Mayor Adams and Chancellor Banks updated the gifted and talented programs, and they expanded the number of seats, adding 100 kindergarten and 1,000 third grade seats. Also, Juneteenth officially designated as a paid city holiday, and this will take effect this year on June 19th, recognized on June 20th. And also on April 10th, it was 100 days of getting stuff done, where Mayor Adams released a list of key accomplishments where you can find them at nyc.gov website. And that would be it on my end. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we also have with us Charlene Batts from Assemblymember Matilde Frontis's office. I saw in the chat, Charlene, I don't know if you'd like to speak or not.
I'm sorry, I'm getting her to speak. Hold on.
Oh, okay, thanks.
All right, I still. Okay, should be working now. Charlene? Charlene, you can unmute yourself.
Good evening to everyone. Charlene Batts here from Office of Assemblywoman Matilde Frontis office. And I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday. And the Assemblywoman would have been here this evening. However, she unfortunately came down with COVID. So she is recovering, however, doing well, and looks forward to be up and running. Both our offices are open, the one in Coney Island, as well as our Bay Ridge office. So as always, if there are any questions or any needs, we are there. Again, thank you so much. And everyone have a great evening.
Thank you very much. And we have with us Tori Kelly from Senator Andrew Gennardis's office. Tori.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Happy
Hi.
Easter, happy Passover, happy Ramadan. I'll give a quick update on the state budget, which passed last week. There's some really great things for the community that the senator fought for. Number one, you probably heard him talk about the CUNY, the new deal for CUNY. It's a record investment that we were able to allocate in this year's budget, more than the largest investment in over a decade. We also have some really good news for property owners. There is a property tax rebate for homeowners in this year's budget for people who have incomes or households that have incomes less than $250,000. Also a phase in of the middle class tax cuts. About 80% of our district should benefit from this. So if you have questions, you can please contact our office and we can give you kind of details. Also a $1.1 billion in emergency rental assistance to kind of continue that program that was open previously. They ran out of money. There is now more funds. So like the applications that have been pending, I know we've talked a great deal about this at prior community board meetings. So we're happy to announce that. And also $20 million to combat hate crimes. That's another thing that the senator has fought for in this year's budget. So a lot of great news there. Our office is open. Please, I'll drop my information in the chat. I also want to update that on May 14th, we'll have a shredding event. I know those are immensely popular in the community. So I'll also give the flyer to Josephine that she can send out in the newsletter. And thank you guys. Have a good night.
Thank you very much, Tori. And now we have Nancy Lulu from District Attorney Eric Gonzalez's office. Nancy?
Thank you, Lori. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone had a blessed Easter and Passover, and that our Muslim brothers and sisters are having a blessed Ramadan and an easy fast. One moment, please. Just a couple of announcements. April marks Child Abuse Prevention Month, so we must do our part to ensure that the safety and well-being of our children across Brooklyn. So if you believe that a child is being abused or neglected, to report it to the New York State Child Abuse Hotline at 1-800-342 3720, or the Brooklyn DA's Special Victims Bureau at 718-250-3170. And if you believe that the child is in immediate danger, to call 911. The Brooklyn DA's office is now accepting applications for our 2022 summer high school internship. The interns will learn more about what it takes to build and prosecute a case, for investigatory steps, to charging decisions, to court process, and will be exposed to many different career opportunities as they consider their future professional goals. During the 4-week internships, the participants will also receive a $150 weekly stipend and a Metro card. Applicants must provide a resume, personal essay, working papers, and recent transcript. The deadline to apply is May 12. And as always, if you have a public safety concern or quality of life matter, to feel free to reach out to the DA's Action Center at 718-250-2340. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak this evening.
Thank you very much, Nancy. Josephine, do we have any elected officials or agency representatives that I've missed, or any members of the public who have signed up to speak?
So there are some members of the public. I just want to say that Irene Chu is here from Assemblyman Peter Abadi, but she just asked to be recognized. Next, we do have some members of the public. Should we call them in order?
Yes, please.
Charlie Fasano from Bay Ridge Prep. Charles Fasano, just give me a second. I don't know why it's giving me a hard time. Okay, Charles, you should be able to speak now.
Hi there.
Hi.
So thanks for giving me an opportunity to speak. I know that what I'm speaking about today is I'm from Bay Ridge Prep. I'm the head of school, and we started to use the Open Streets program last year and for this year. And in our application for extending it for next year, there were some concerns from neighbors in terms of the use of the street. We've been in Bay Ridge for 24 years serving the community, and we strongly believe that outdoor play is really important. And we previously used to go down to Fort Hamilton Park, but for a variety of reasons that didn't seem safe. And once the open streets became available the last 2 years, it's been something that has enabled us to cycle about 200 students out into the street every day. But I do understand that this has been tough on some of the neighbors, and we're working on ways to compromise with that. Met with 2 of our next door neighbors. We have 3 houses on the block, an apartment building across the street, and St. Mary's is the other part of it. And we met with 2 of the residents who came and spoke to me last week to discuss ways that we can compromise to make this less impactful on them. And we discussed in our application, I think it was from 8:30 to 3:30 or 3 o'clock every day. And we talked about shortening that from 10:30 to 2:30. And one of the residents, Veronica, who I think is also here to speak today, came up with a suggestion of trying to move the majority of our activities in front of the school building as opposed to extending over the whole block. And we do feel that that's actually something, with the exception of a 45-minute period during the day, all the rest of the time, we do think that that's going to be very doable to be able to do that. We also reached out to St. Mary's just to talk to them. They seem pretty positive about it, and they don't seem to have any concerns about us doing that. So we're going to reduce the hours. We're going to change the location to, again, primarily, this lunchtime is hard to do that, but for the most part, most of the time would be just in front of our building. That's where we left off.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, that matter is on the agenda, so we'll be hearing about the committee's report later on. So thank you for speaking on that. Josephine, do we have another member of the public?
Yes, the next speaker is going to be Kate George. Kate, just bear with me. Okay, Kate, you should be allowed to speak now. You just need to unmute.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say that I just want to thank Veronica and Jane for coming over. Veronica and her husband were the residents who started the petition, and we were really happy to talk. And I think that reducing the hours by about 50% from our application will be a big help, and that using primarily the space in front of our school, we're going to start that immediately as much as we can, just as an active good faith, even though this is for next year's application. If anytime that we can do that now, we're going to try to do that now. Thank you.
Okay, so the next speaker will be Veronica. Veronica, bear with me. Okay, Veronica, you should be allowed to speak now. Just need
Hello?
to, yes.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Happy holidays. So myself and the residents of the block have prepared a letter, and I'm just going to go ahead and read it. Dear board members and Department of Transportation representatives, thank you for giving us the opportunity to have our voices heard. We would like to take this time to urge the board to vote to deny Bay Ridge Prep's application for open street on Ridge Boulevard between 81st and 82nd Street. We know that Place Street has historically been part of New York City, but those Place Streets were supported by the community and benefited the residents. In this case, the street closure benefits only the school. In addition, working from home was an unimaginable thing for most people prior to 2020. Today, that is the reality we live in. Bay Ridge Prep is using public space for private use. The residents of the block strongly oppose living this way for a third year. As described in our petition, the school has alternative options, and the closure affects our quality of life on an everyday basis, ranging from traffic, noise, potential to property damage, inability to access residential dwellings, and more. When the street is closed, the interest of tax-paying residents are not served. The burden to provide an outdoor play space should not fall on the shoulders of the residents. We know that the Community Board and the Department of Transportation take residents' voices seriously. We appeal to you now to return our quality of life back to the way it was before 2020 and reject the street closure application for Bay Ridge Prep. Sincerely, residents of Ridge Boulevard between 81st and 82nd Street. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Lori, I'm going through the chat. I don't see anyone else signed up.
Okay. All right, very good. So then I think we are finished with everyone that we had for public session, and we will then be moving on to the public hearing, and that is a new SLA application. So Barbara Bellucci, the Chair of Police and Public Safety, will be handling that. Barbara.
I don't see her on, Lori.
Oh, no.
So she
Barbara
said,
will not be handling that. No,
yeah,
we try to find her.
We do have her report. So I don't know how you, and I know the applicant is on the call.
Yes, let me just see if we can. Well, why don't we have a willing member of the committee give it, because or you can read it, Joe, if we're in a pinch, and then
okay,
you know, if she gets on, she can jump on and take it over. But and if there are questions directed to what occurred at the meeting, maybe one of the committee members can give us a hand.
Okay, so I'll read the report for Barbara.
Hello, everybody. Is it time or not yet?
I just want to make sure I mute everyone.
Yep.
Dr. Rimawi, mute yourself.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good evening, board members. So on behalf of Barbara, this is a new application for wine, beer, and cider for Sushi Gyro. Located at 7308 3rd Avenue. It's a new SLA liquor. I'm sorry, it's wine, beer, and cider for Sushi Gyro. The owner is Yik Lee Linda Wong. She was present at the meeting. The attorney, Martin Lee, was not present. The questionnaire was complete. The menu premise photos were provided. There will only be background recorded, amplified music inside the establishment, no DJ or live music. There is a letter of no objection for 74 persons. After a discussion period, the committee decision was to move to deny this application unless the owner agreed to the following stipulations. 1, the premise will operate as a restaurant. 2, the owner will become familiar with the New York State Liquor Authority negotiations. 3, there will be no sale or consumption of alcohol of the premise until appropriate authorization is issued by the State Liquor Authority. BYOB is not permitted in New York State. The hours of operation will be Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m., Friday and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. The establishment will be closed on Mondays. There will only be background music. The doors and windows are to remain closed when music is playing, and sound level will be monitored and remain below the level permitted by the New York City Noise Code. There will be no music on the outside of the premise, and there will be no use of outdoor space. The licensee shall not use any promoter or have promoted events. There will be no smoking permitted. There will be no subletting. There will be at least 20% visible view into the establishment at eye level. The applicant agrees that should it change its method of operation, it will give notice and meet with the community board committee at least 45 days in advance of any such change. The applicant has agreed to such stipulations. And I'll just show some photos of the premise that was shown at the committee meeting for everyone to see really quickly. And that's the menu. Okay, so I'm going to stop the share. And Lori, turn it over to you. You're on mute, Lori.
Thank you. Okay, so let's see. I don't see anyone with their hand up in the hand raise functions for board members to ask any questions. So if I'm missing anyone, let me see. I don't see anybody with a physical hand up. I don't see any questions, discussions. So the motion is on the floor. They met in quorum. So I would move the question. Josephine, would you like to, thank you. So the polling feature is up. So if everyone can just cast their vote.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Just to say that I'm the Sushi Jiro's owner, Yikli Linda Wong. Hey guys,
Yes,
how are you?
hi. Thank you for coming.
We'll see you in May.
It doesn't seem like anyone has any questions, so we're just voting. And it appears as though we have voted in favor of your liquor license application with those stipulations that you agreed to at the meeting. And Josephine, I'm sure will be sending that paperwork over to you or to your representative. And good luck with your new establishment and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. And now we move on to the chair's report. If I can find it. Having a little technical difficulties this evening. Got it. Okay. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April 18th, 2022 General Board meeting for Community Board 10. I hope you're all doing well tonight. As you know, we had intended on resuming in-person General Board meetings this month, but in light of the rise in the COVID cases and our meeting taking place during a holiday and a school break period, it was decided it would be best to hold this month's meeting remotely in the interest of safety and attaining a quorum. At this month's Borough Board meeting, many members expressed their desire to preserve an option for a remote or hybrid meeting attendance for board members. And these types of changes are still being explored. So we will continue to monitor the situation and keep you all apprised with regard to next month's meeting and future meetings. In connection with the issue of commercial vehicle parking overnight around Diker Beach Golf Course, which has come up many times before the board, District Manager Beckman, Police and Public Safety Chair Barbara Vellucci, and myself met at an interagency meeting with Councilman Brannan and members of his staff to discuss the steps that have been and are currently being taken, the challenges, and some short-term and long-term ideas for solutions to this problem. We identified areas for further research and action, and we will be meeting again on this issue. And having a follow-up interagency meeting and keeping you posted. The events of last Tuesday's subway shooting at the 36th Street station were very distressing and disturbing to us all. I'm thankful that there were no fatalities, and I extend my wishes for recovery to the victims and thank our law enforcement for their quick work in identifying and bringing the perpetrator in. In this month of celebration of holidays across many faiths, I wish everyone a happy Easter, Passover, and Ramadan. I also remind you that today is tax day, and you still have a few hours to file your personal returns if you haven't done so. And as always, I thank you for showing up and caring and for your continuous generous donation of your time. And that is it from my report, and I'll now be turning it over to District Manager Beckman for hers.
Thank you, Lori. Good evening, board members. So I'm happy to report this evening that the district office was advised by the TBTA, the Tri-Borough Bridge and Tunnel Authority, of upcoming beautification work scheduled to begin within a few weeks. First, work to trim the overgrowth and vegetation, expand the sidewalk, replace the current fencing, clean and paint the cement wall, and plant new trees along Dahlgren Place, and that's at the exit of the Verrazano Bridge. It's an issue that's come up in past meetings that the community board has held, and the TBTA was happy to share that there is funding now to complete this project. There will be a period of approximately 3 weeks when 15 parking spaces will be restricted next to the new sidewalk as it's constructed. Residents will be notified in advance of the parking restrictions. This work is expected to begin midsummer. The second beautification project will take place the beginning of the fall on Fort Hamilton Parkway near the TBTA property located between the Fort Hamilton Senior Center and the Fort Hamilton Army Base. The entrance to the property will be cleaned up and a new wrought iron fence with brick columns will be installed. And so we hope to have an update within a few weeks on the second project as far as timing. I want to also take some time to speak again to board members and to the public about an increase in rat complaints to the district office. Several residents and businesses have alerted the office about rat sightings. Our office has been working closely with the Department of Health. Anna Schatz, our liaison, has really assisted in handling any location that we have given to her. There are lots of reasons for rats to surface, but we need your help to keep them at bay and prevent them from coming back. Councilmember Brannan recently sponsored a rat academy to focus on rat control and prevention, and CB10 has also highlighted prevention in the past newsletters. Today, I spoke with Amanda Zenteno, the executive director of the Fifth Avenue Bid, and we will be working on a collaborative outreach effort along certain portions of Fifth Avenue corridor to raise awareness and to share recommendations from the Department of Health to prevent access on your property. And I just want to share a couple of quick announcements. Next week, April 28th, we will be having a joint CB10 and CB11 Parks Committee meeting beginning at 6 p.m. And while this is a Parks Committee, I want to invite all board members to attend if they have an interest. New York City Parks officials will be providing a capital project presentation for the Shore Road Promenade, funding secured by Council Member Justin Brannan. So we're going to have a presentation on how those funds are going to be allocated. At 7 p.m., the same Joint Committee on Parks, CB10 and 11, will review quality of life issues in Dyker Beach Park. We've also invited, for that portion of the meeting, members of the Police and Public Safety Committees of both boards. Earlier today, I shared an email to board members from CB7 sharing information about their upcoming environmental committee on Tuesday, April 26th at 6 p.m. CB7 invited the Metropolitan Recycling Center to give a presentation on their proposal for a facility at the 65th Street Rail Yard, which abuts the borderline of CB10. The Summer Youth Employment Program application is open through April 22nd, just a few more days. So if you know of any young people, please share that with them. The Norwegian Day Parade will be held on Sunday, May 15th. Information about parade kickoff and route will be available both in our newsletter and on our website. The TD Bank 5-Borough Bike Tour will take place on Sunday, May 1st, with the course maps coming soon. And I want to remind all board members to please read our newsletter, our e-blast, as well as our website. Check it out. We try to update it very regularly. And I would like to give a quick shout out to board member Dan Haddix, who, following last month's communication committee report, offered to organize our board and committee meetings YouTube channel. So if you check out our YouTube channel, you will notice a very new organized screens for each of our meetings in order, and we really appreciate that help. So thank you, Dan. And our next meeting will take place on Monday, May 16th, 7 p.m. Respectfully submitted. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Josephine. Thank you very much, Dan. And now we have our treasurer's report. Shirley Chin is not with us this evening, so Sandy Vallis is going to be stepping in. Take it away, Sandy.
Thank you, Lori. Hello, everybody. Good to see everybody again. Community Board 10 Treasurer's Report as of March 31st, 2022. Total personal services, $169,302.22. Total other than personal services, $11,611.17, leaving an unencumbered budget balance of $80,305.61. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sandy. And now we move on to our Traffic and Transportation Committee report.
Okay, Lori, Doris will be rendering the report for.
Yes, but I don't see Anthony here. Okay, Doris. Doris, are you on mute?
Doris, I see her here.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I lost her.
No,
wait,
she's right there.
She's right there. Doris?
Doris? Hello? Are you on mute, Doris? I don't see her mute button on.
No,
Yeah.
she's not.
There might be something wrong with the microphone. Or audio might not have been joined.
Did she answer?
Yes, I see her lips moving, but I can't hear what you're saying, Doris. I'm sorry. Can you hear us, Doris? She can. Okay. I can read your lips.
Technical difficulty. I don't think there's anything on my end that I can do.
No, I don't.
No, yeah, I think it's on Doris's end.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe we'll ask her to call in, or
do you want to sign in using your phone, Doris?
Josephine, I had the same problem and I logged out and then I logged back in again. So maybe she can try that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Barbara had also, I'm sorry, one of the other board members said that they were having a problem with that.
I was having a problem and I turned my video off and it made it better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Yes, it was you. I know I saw it in the chat. Hi, Judy.
Hi, Judy.
So Doris, do you want to log out and log back in? Okay. All right. So I think she just did. She's gone. I don't see her. Sorry, everyone.
Someone can call, find out.
Yeah, she's calling in. We'll give her a second to call in. Do you see it?
Hear me now?
I can hear you. Yay.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Go ahead,
Okay,
Dora.
now I have to find the report.
Okay.
It's so much easier when someone hands you a piece of paper.
Yes.
Dorothy, for some reason, I'm having trouble accessing the report that you sent me, so could you resend it?
Yes. Or why don't, Dorothy, Joe, do you just want to read the report?
Yeah, okay.
And
How
then,
about I read?
yeah, Doris can
Okay.
handle the discussion.
Then
You'll handle discussion.
Thank you.
That's fine. Okay, so good evening, Traffic and Transportation Committee met on April 4th at 7 p.m. on Zoom. We met in quorum. On the docket for the evening was the following: open streets application for Bay Ridge Prep, Ridge Boulevard, 81st Street to 82nd Street, Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. You found it, Doris?
I found it, yes.
Oh, okay, do you want to read it? Do you want me to read it? Okay. I'll continue to read it, and then if you'll answer
Keep
questions.
reading, and because I can give commentary.
Okay, open streets. The second is the open streets application for High School of Telecommunications, Arts and Technology, 67th Street from 3rd to 4th Avenue, Monday through Friday, from 7:45 a.m. to 4:45 p.m. The meeting began, and after my introduction, District Manager Josephine Beckman spoke and reminded the committee that there had been a meeting regarding the open streets in February. She also provided PowerPoint slides to get everyone refreshed and up to speed on the open streets program. At the February CB10 Traffic and Transportation Committee meeting, the New York City Department of Transportation Representative Kyle Gorman was in attendance to update on New York City Open Streets Permanent Program. One part of the Open Streets program is full closure schools, where DOT plans to continue to work with the public, private, and charter schools to make use of streets for educational purposes and outdoor learning. New York City Open Streets program made permanent by the New York City Council and signed into law by then Mayor de Blasio in 2021. Our meeting on the 4th was to speak specifically about the New York City Open Streets full closure schools and the applicants aforementioned. Full closures for public, private, and charter schools to support drop-off and pickup operations, recess, and outdoor learning. No vehicle access and no parking is allowed when full closures are in effect. A 15-foot emergency lane must be clear at all times for emergency vehicles. New York City Administrative Code 19107.1 provides an in-depth details on the application of this designation. Applicants apply directly to the DOT, and the DOT has final say on approval. Any school can apply for review. The operation is managed by the organization/school that is approved for the full closure program. Prior to the designation of an open street, the department shall provide notice to affected council members, community boards, and community organizations. CB10 received notice of 2 such applications and has 30 days to provide comment. The first application for review was a closure submitted by Bay Ridge Prep. They requested the full closure of Ridge Boulevard from 81st to 82nd Street, Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. The applicant for Bay Ridge Prep was present, and we welcomed Charles Fasano into the Zoom meeting to speak for Bay Ridge Prep. As a result of COVID-19, Bay Ridge Prep had been working with an emergency application since last year, which has allowed them to operate with the street closure. This was an application to make this emergency permit permanent. Currently, Bay Ridge Prep operates on Ridge Boulevard between 81st and 82nd Street with no outdoor space. The school had been walking students K-8 down to Fort Hamilton Park to get recreational space. Charles informed us that there had been lots of problems using the park, including gang violence that made it dangerous for the students and teachers. The use of the street has allowed for a safer recreation and recess for the children. It's busiest from noon to 1 p.m. Charles stated it has been amazing for Bay Ridge Prep to have access to this resource. Residents had been notified about the closure last year when the emergency approval went into effect. With that, the forum was open to questions and comments from the committee. There were some concerns what happens with garbage pickup and alternate side sweeping. There were also concerns about deliveries and access for residents. There were concerns about setting a precedent for other schools, concerns about emergency vehicle access. The barriers are manned for the total amount of time the road is closed by dedicated staff members. Pedestrian traffic is not affected. 25 to 100 students at a time use the street space throughout the day. The Play Streets program was mentioned and stated it was done during lunch hour, not for the whole day, making it less impactful. Bay Ridge Prep seemed amenable to modifying the hours. CB10 notified the residents on Ridge Boulevard about the full closure application. CB10 received many phone calls and a petition that was sent to the district office. Some of the neighbors' concerns were as follows. The street closing increases the noise throughout the day, especially for work-at-home residents. It inhibits access to private dwellings throughout the day and creates undue stress when coming and going. Risk of property damage. 8115 Ridge Boulevard incurred additional expenses during their home renovation project. School has an indoor gym that could be used instead. There were residents in attendance and the meeting was opened up to them for comments. The owner of 8115 was in attendance and mentioned that among other things, it was difficult during their renovation project because they were unable to station a dumpster and had to pay to haul garbage by truck instead. They were concerned about property damage and liability should a student get hurt in front of their home. She also stated that they had not seen the barriers manned during the day. The writer of the petition, Nicholas Vitkina, stated that garbage pickup was spotty. There is lots of trash. Access to the property is restricted. He stated that through his outreach and petition, most neighbors were not in support. After a robust back and forth, we closed the public portion for the Bay Ridge Prep application. We then turned to committee discussion about it, and from that discussion, the following motion was voted upon. The committee approves, the committee recommends approval of the use of Bay Ridge Prep full closure with modified times and clearly identified people manning the barriers, as well as meet with the neighbors to discuss the closure. This motion was seconded and the committee unanimously voted in favor. Okay.
We have two items in this report, and I think it's better to deal with them separately because they're very different. It was one of the things I put in my notes, because I always take notes in meetings, that was Charles Fasano from Bay Ridge Prep was on the meeting, and he noted the comments of the committee and the neighbors, and he was willing to make adjustments. And to me, it was the importance of communications. And there has been,
sorry.
There, obviously, the concerns of the neighbors and the committee were heard, and they were willing to make adjustments and limit the hours and to make things more amenable for the neighbors.
Okay, thanks, Doris. Anne, I see you.
And I guess I'm running this thing, so Anne has a question.
Yes.
Anne?
My question is, so shall we expect to have the open streets for schools as a request from pretty much every school in the district?
No.
We don't know what we don't know.
Right, but what would you think?
Well, I think that there have been.
In other words, what makes this a special case?
Right, there was outreach by the department to transportation offered to all schools in the district. There were 2 applications that have been received. I guess if there are any additionals, we'll learn about that through notification.
The other one,
I think it depends on, school grounds, outdoor space, etc.
And second thing I want to say is a comment, not a question. And that is, how much more beneficial and understandable to open the streets to the schools versus the restaurant debacle that we're experiencing when we want to talk about an overall concept of open streets?
being on both the transportation and zoning committee, I know how important that issue is, and I cannot quantify that. But I know, as was mentioned early in Anthony's report, open streets for schools are in some way an extension of play streets, which is an old concept. We cannot compare them. They're different uses, different needs. And that's my judgment. That was nothing discussed at the committee level. And in approving this, and the committee did approve this with the recommendation that Bay Ridge Prep modify their hours and work with the neighbors, and that clearly has been done. So I think we have to look at this, unfortunately, in isolation. I guess we as board members have to keep it in our heads that it's not isolated.
To be more clear, Doris, what I meant is that how much more deserving the schools are.
Oh, I misunderstood. Yes, okay, yes, agreed. Okay.
So it was more,
Okay.
it was more of a comment, Anne, rather than a question.
Or criticism.
And a good comment, Judy.
I'm a little I understand that it's a right and a right to be encouraged. And you said that the school was going to meet with the neighbors to work out accommodations, but I'm not aware of what those accommodations are. So I'm having a hard time saying yes when I don't understand what has been agreed to. Usually when I listen to Barbara Bellucci and she gives us a laundry list of all the accommodations, and when we're voting, we know what we're voting for, but I'm unclear what has been agreed to.
Well, what the committee's recommendation was that that Bay Ridge Prep limit their hours. It was one of the most important considerations. But we did not define that. We did not.
I just want to mention that Kate from Bay Ridge Prep mentioned in the chat that Bay Ridge Prep has suggested 50% less hours specifically.
At what time are those hours? 50% when? I want specifics if I'm going to vote, and I'm uncomfortable with the vagary or the leaving it up to the loosey-goosey goodwill of both parties. Because I work near in Clark Slope near the Greek School of Plato, and I know the Greek School, I don't know what, but it's a Greek school, and they closed the street, 18th Street, and it's just clogs traffic up so much, and you can't get down the street. It eliminates that whole street from parking access. It's a big deal, and to Anne's point, there's quite a few schools that could ask for this, and it just troubled me. It's such a residential street, there's people who live there, and I really would like to know more specifics, like if they say, well, it's only going to be during lunch hour, or it's only going to be during. I remember the school I went to, we had a play street for lineup purposes, and then after we all got in, the street opened up. So I really would like more specifics.
I believe Kate put in the chat from 10:30 till 2:20.
Which is a huge reduction.
Yes.
So if that helps, Judy.
And the next person I'm gonna call on, I'm gonna call on Steve because he was at the meeting and he got more details than I have. So Steve, you've got it.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm hearing what Judy's saying, and I'm kind of looking to that also. The agreement was that they would meet, and I think they've complied with the fact that they said that they would meet. I'm not sure that they have met. I haven't heard that. I mean, is this something in the future? And if the times are specific, I think it should be that that's what we agree to, is those times if they are specific, or that we don't agree to them. I just think that it's not saying no, but I think that Judy expressed it well, is that she wants to know what she's saying yes to. And just to say, yes, they can do it without having it explicit in our recommendation, I think would be problematic. And if we've gone this long, I don't think that if we put it over a month, it is going to have a great effect, to have a better understanding of what the alleged compromise is. Okay, I mean, I get the feeling that they're getting there, but I haven't heard explicitly from anybody saying that we all agree on everything. I've heard, for example, that they've met, but okay, what did they agree to when they met?
You're confusing the situation more.
I'm sorry, Sally, you don't have the floor.
This is a
I would like to
question.
respond.
Should we allow
Stella, can you unmute Stella? Stella, you do not have the floor. One of the things I would like to go back to Josephine and clarify things, but I think under the terms of open streets, we have a limited amount of time to respond to this. Is that true, Josephine?
Correct. We have 30 days to provide comments to DOT. So they're actually
Starting from?
They're actually due today. We were notified on March 21st. So yeah, tomorrow, the next day, I mean, DOT does know that we're meeting today.
So it
yes.
may be helpful, Doris, excuse me. Do we have any specifics that we can offer the board members in terms of, stipulated times or certain guidelines that actually were committed to? Because I do see that Kate is putting up certain comments in the chat saying that, that they do intend on having certain times that they were saying they would keep to one side of the street. So my question is, when the committee met, were there any sort of stipulations put into place that were firm that may help out?
No, there were no formal hours.
Right.
It was said that Bay Ridge Prep should reduce their hours and speak with the neighbors as to what better options there were. And is Charlie Fasano still on the call? Because he did say.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. We can hear you. Because you originally asked from 8:30 to some, but you reduced it from 8:30 to 3. But you said the main usage would be from noon to 1. Is there any way you can further quantify that to make the concerns?
So the main, I'm sorry, Doris. The 12 to 1 was during lunchtime, but we had put down that we would be doing it from 10:30 to 2:30 is something that we can change it to. So that and then the idea of moving it in front of our building. So those were the two things that we discussed.
Okay, so following the committee meeting, you have agreed, you have said you will reduce the hours from 10:30 to 2:30, and that at that time, for most of that time, it will be in front of your building, and from noon to 1, it would be the entire block. Am I correct?
That's correct. From 12:15 till 1, it would be the entire block.
Okay.
Can you tell us why?
I'm sorry.
Thank you. I'm gonna call a few other questions. I think the next one I'm gonna call is Ruth.
So it was my impression that stipulations were agreed to by the school and the residents, and now we're hearing that they're not. And I see comments from a resident saying that these new hours are really not that much different from what actually has been going on in real life. And then there was a comment that said that they would try to keep the kids in front of the school. It seems to me that only half the block is residential. I mean, one thought is, why can't the barrier be moved right next to the school and give the school the space that's directly in front of the school for that period of time?
I can speak to that, Ruth. If the DOT thought that we can do that, we would be willing to. I'm just not sure from a safety perspective, if cars are coming halfway down the block at full speed, that they would then think that they would notice something halfway in a block. So I think it's a safety.
Oh, no, I
concern.
don't mean for, no, that's not what I had in mind. What I had in mind, you could still have a barrier up at the corner, but it's for the residents. It's really the residents of 3 houses, or maybe even 2 houses. I don't know how many driveways there are. There are probably 3 driveways that have to go in and out. There would be
two residences that have to go in and out.
Yes, so they have to go in and out when they, and if the property, the street in front of their homes is never used by the school, then they're free to come and go out one side. They don't have to have 2 ways out. They at least have the other street out to come and go. It's
So
just
Ruth,
my thought on it.
So Ruth,
Yes?
they are free to come anytime they want now. It involves moving the barrier, and but the idea is that it would
Well,
be
no, it involves moving 100 students. They
right.
can't
Correct.
come in and out during lunchtime. And they can't, and they probably have to wait for someone to move the barrier. So it's really, I guess what I've heard from the resident there is that it's not the way the people really want to live on 5 days a week. So I don't think that the thought that a compromise was really reached is correct. And I think that both sides could do better.
So during the meeting that we had, what I was trying to make clear is, even if we have to move the students, we will during that time, and we have done that. But that being said, Veronica is the one who suggested if we moved it in front of the school, then it would just be moving a barrier and not moving students. So I understand that she's representing a larger group at this point, but in our conversation, that was her suggestion about moving it primarily to in front of the school. And we also spoke about the shortened hours. So, so anyway, that was the last conversation that we had.
Well, my question is, just maybe to expedite this a little bit.
Thank you.
Is the school, excuse me, Doris, is the school willing to, I mean, I understand the practicality of having a barrier to prevent cars come in, but is the school willing, you could always just, these are just those movable, wood barriers. I see them all the time, like the police barriers. Would you be willing to just keep the children in front of the school? Therefore, while other vehicles could not start to come down that block, the residents would be able to come and go, at least, from their homes. If the children were, you're not dealing then with the issue of moving 100 children. So my question is, and I wasn't at the meeting and I apologize, but Mr. Fasano, is the school willing to keep the children in front of the building?
The answer to that is, right now, it would be hard to do during lunchtime, where that's when we have the most students out there. However, we can work towards making it exclusively in front of the building. What we had committed to our neighbors is that we would keep it primarily in front, except during that 12:20 to 1 o'clock period of time.
Okay, so then is it, just to make sure I understand then, would the time period still be from 10:30 to 2:20? That's the full time period that the school plans on having this blocked off?
Right, so from 10:30 to 12:15, we would just have the students in front of the school. From 12:15 to about 1 o'clock or 1 o'clock, we would be using the whole block. And then after 1 o'clock, we would move it to the front of the school again. So there would be approximately a 40-minute time period where students would be on the street where the residents' houses are.
Okay, but my question is the cutoff time then at a certain point of the day, the end of this closure at all for the day would be 2:20, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so that's really the window period we're looking for. I just wanted to know if we did have anything narrowed down and just try to identify that. Okay.
I just want to make one comment that play streets have been part of the New York City culture for transportation issues for decades. And I think in our community, the one most visible to me was always OLA. And that street was closed for lunchtime every day, 5 days a week. And in a sense, Bay Ridge Prep is asking that, and in Ridge Boulevard is not closed, there's a 15-foot leeway, so emergency vehicles and other issues, other city vehicles can get through. But they're asking that it be closed for 50 minutes. And that's a huge reduction from what they originally asked. I think we need to have some leeway. So there are two people who I have not responded to. One is Jill.
Yes, just a few comments. Judith, I understand what you're saying about the traffic, and there's certain schools that are in high traffic areas. That area is not high traffic at all. And I am very sympathetic to the residents because I am a homeowner as well, and it is a disruption for them. However, the school is willing to work with them, and it's only to my understanding that it's really two residents that are having a problem. There's a very big apartment building there, and I don't think that many people even questioned it. So I'm just curious if it's just these two residents that are on that street, not to discount their feelings, but it is very important for the kids to get out and use the street. And there is a church across the street, so they're not disrupting anything on that side. And if they do stay in front of their building, and like Ruth said, keep the street closed, but just move a second barrier to the school and keep that barrier and 81st Street, right, so the kids don't go beyond it, and leave the space in front of the homes free for the residents. You know, it is disruptive to have kids screaming and yelling all day. I understand that. But who knows if they're even home all day? Maybe it's just a gripe they have that they just don't want the street closed and they don't want an inconvenience. I'm not even clear about that. The letter, the petition says a few things. I don't know if there's really any adverse history that happened. They're just saying they don't want it. So I don't know if that's a good enough reason either, being that this is a legal operation to close the street. So I think there needs to be better communication on the residents' end as well.
Thank you. Barbara Vellucci.
Yes, thank you. You know, as most of you know, I was in the school system for 32 years as a teacher. 11 of those 32 years, I was a school administrator. So I know what the problems are in having enough space in a school building. We had, you know, in Fort Hamilton, we had, 4 overlapping sessions because there just was not enough room. The school, opened 80 years ago, and the population just increased tremendously. But I'm on the opposite side of Jill right now. I know some of the people in the apartment building, and they are opposed to this. I don't care whether it's 2 residents or 5 or 10, you spend millions of dollars for your home and you expect it to be a certain quality of life. And I love children. I spent my life with them. But when you have 100 students outside, the voices are there. If a child falls on your property, then what? If they throw a ball into your window, then what? Are you going to have more school security watching to make sure the children do not run away? Are you watching to see what strangers are walking down to pick up children? I think all of these things are very, very important. I just think that, you get a building for a school and you have to accommodate the number of students that fit into that building. Also, don't forget that parents bring the children to school and they drive. So the traffic is bad enough as it is. So now you're going to have cars and cars and cars and cars and cars backlogged blocks to drop their children off. So, my vote is going to be a no for this.
I just want to comment that Bay Ridge Prep has agreed to reduce the hours so it does not interfere with pick up and drop off.
I know what you're saying. I still disagree. To have 100 students outside any time for the entire block is absolutely wrong. Sorry.
He's only asking for the one block for 50 minutes a day.
Nope.
Okay, Steve, I'm going back to you because you were at the meeting.
Yeah, I've listened to everything that we're hearing tonight, and I have sympathy for Bay Ridge Prep, but I'm not sure quite. I think it was Jill who said it's only 2 people who have houses on that street, but the truth of the matter is they count, okay? And you have to listen to what they have to say. And the problem that I have here is that when we talk about play streets, those play streets were really in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, and then were discontinued because of the traffic. Prior to that, there was very little traffic. You might have had 2 cars an hour. This is a huge difference what we're talking about here. And I think when somebody buys a house, I think that's absolutely something that has to be considered here. They bought this in good faith. This devalues their houses probably, and I don't see anybody compensating them for that. Putting all that together, and incidentally, this is on an avenue when those used to be on side streets, and this is different, okay? And I look at it and I say people then are going to be going down other blocks in order to get around it, and it's going to hurt the people on those blocks. So I have real issues with it. I wish Bay Ridge the best of luck and Bay Ridge Prep, but I point out to you that they bought this knowing darn well that they didn't have any access to this kind of a thing, and now this is suddenly there. So I myself believe this is something that should be just scotched. I think that we should vote against it, and if anything, they have to sit down and they have to come up with a much better plan than what they're coming up with here, because I don't hear much difference between this and what was originally talked about, except for some times. And I think it's a turkey.
I just want to make one comment, Steve. OLA had a play street through the 2010s.
I agree,
So
but
it's
they
not
started.
that old.
No, Doris, you're missing what I'm saying.
But it's not,
I
it's
agree,
not that
but
old.
they started
It's not a historic program.
long before that, and the
That's
people
okay.
who bought
That's okay. Okay, I'm
and the
going to move
people who
on.
bought the houses, the people who bought the houses on those blocks bought them with full knowledge of what they had on that street, which was play streets. They were always well indicated.
Right.
Okay, I have two people, Habib and then Preston.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Really, I do agree with Steve. This is, imagine, Doris, 100 kids in the street, how much noise it's playtime. I don't think that is right. And as Steve said, the other BOA, they bought the houses knowing the street was open. I think if it was a mistake, we should not consider another mistake. I think it should not be done.
Thank you, Habib. Preston?
Yes, thank you, Doris. I'm a resident of 81st Street, right down the block from Bay Ridge Prep. And I want to say that basically a fact of my life growing up has been the double and sometimes triple parking in dangerous conditions at 3 o'clock or 3:30 whenever the school ends in Bay Ridge Prep. That Ridge Boulevard block becomes incredibly dangerous. As someone that's walked past there to go to school, get home from school afternoon, and now drives around there, at that time, it is incredibly hard especially at 82nd and Ridge where there is no light. And it's very hard to see beyond a stop sign when there are oncoming traffic, when parents are double parking to pick up their children. I understand it's a fact of life for the school, but it's something that has, I'm sure, impacts the daily life of these residents. And it's also something that Bay Ridge Prep has known for years has been a problem, and they haven't really, told their parents to address that concern for safety concerns. So as a board member looking into this permanent solution, it is something to show that there's been this dangerous condition for years that has never been addressed. And I am concerned what that means for this new traffic condition and what that would mean for the future of this block and the safety there.
Thank you.
Richard,
Day.
I see Julie's had her hand up for a little while.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah.
I have. Thank you for recognizing me, Doris. Okay, so I, at the beginning, Judith Grimaldi had said, she wasn't clear what we were voting on. And I wanted to say that I felt the same. I also have the same sentiments as Barbara and Steve. I've been listening to everything that's being said. I'm not clear on everything. I obviously not on the Traffic and Transportation Committee. I wasn't at the meeting. But I'm not sure what the hours were before, but to me personally, the hours of 10:30 to 2:15 is quite a long stretch of time. And I do think that the residents there need to be considered. I don't think it's fair to them. Also, as a person, as a resident who actually lives next to Fonfon for over 20 years, where there's no open street thing, but just the issue of the drop off and pickup twice a day. And it's crazy. I can't even get near where I live at 2:30 in the afternoon. I understand and have the sympathy for the residents that live on this block. And I think that we really have to seriously consider our vote. And as much as I understand the school needs the children to be outside, I have children myself that grew up and went to PS 185. And I know they don't have a schoolyard like 185 does. I think some other alternative solution needs to be considered. Thank you.
I just want to clarify something because it's something both Preston and Julie said. The original hours that Bay Ridge Prep asked for included drop-off and pickup time. Their new hours do not include drop-off and pickup time. So that's not relevant to this discussion. And then Richard.
Thanks, Doris. So this is quick. I'm a huge proponent of streets being a public resource, but this isn't being used for the public. This is being used for private institutions. So just wanted to put my 2 cents out there. I'm going to be voting this down.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Good
Did we, Doris,
Okay.
I think we got all the new speakers.
I think we've got them
people
all.
that haven't spoken before. So, if you wanted to take a few more and then we'll.
I
call
have
the
to
question.
find my report again. And I believe that.
I just have a question. I see that a number of people's hands are up who spoke before. So if you just left
Are
it
you
up
up
from
again?
before, let me know. Because I don't know.
Are
if
they
you're
up
actually-
again or were they left up?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. They're up
Okay.
again. They're
Okay,
up again.
we have 3 people, Judy, Jill, and Ruth. You each have less than 1 minute.
Okay, since my name kept coming up as my, I agree with me. I just want to clarify, I still do not think that I have, if it's not in the motion, the change of hours, their agreement of hours, I cannot vote for the motion. And the second is, Doris, when you said that, they've graciously taken out the drop-off hours, well, they get the drop-off hours by default. So that by then taking them away, they're still going to be clogging the street on those drop-off hours because they have to drop people off. So that really, that's giving us nothing.
But that's not related to the request for open streets.
I know,
Okay.
but they're being gracious. We don't need those hours. They're still taking those hours. So to me, it's a bait and switch.
Okay, next, Jill and then Ruth.
Yes, I just want to clarify, you know how much I'm on the resident side for the most part. I didn't mean to discount, and I kept saying I feel for the residents, whether it was 1 or 2. I'm trying to understand if it was just those 1 or 2, or were there more people complaining about it? And I just wanted to say again that it is a legal thing that they're asking for, and they might get it anyway. It's same thing like with the liquor licenses, right, Lori? Or am I mistaken about that? So I think it's important that if they go ahead and ask for this and get it, they could still do 8:30 to 3:30. So I think it's important that we realize that and try to maybe even not 5 days a week. Maybe they can do 3 days a week. Maybe they could cut down 2 days a week and, work around something like that. So does it have to be called tonight, or can you go back like we do with liquor licenses and make it like with stipulations?
I believe that Josephine addressed that earlier, that we do have a comment period on this, and the comments really are due.
And also just for point of information, just for Jill, we did receive a petition that did include the 2 private homeowners and signatures from 12 of the apartment building residents across the street.
Okay, I think we've got Ruth, and then we're going to call the question, right,
Ruth,
Doris?
and then I'm gonna go back to the motion and call the question. Okay, Ruth?
Yeah, so I just wanted to add that drop off and pickup is a given with any school. And certainly these people who bought knew that that's something they would have to live off, drop off and pick up, which is really, as stated before, very extensive, and you could see the long lines blocking the homes, and that's a given. But it's not only that they have to put up with. They have to put up with all the activity in front of their homes and the inability to get in and out. So I am sympathetic, and I feel, especially after other things that have been said, that I'm ready to rule in their favor. I am disappointed that the school and the residents didn't reach a satisfactory agreement on their own. And I agree with the other things that have been said about closed streets being on side streets in the past. And I'm done. Thank you.
I just want to address your thing about using the side streets, and this came up in the meeting. Traditionally, play streets for schools have been on side streets, and Mr. Fasano from Bay Ridge Prep said they would impact many, many more residents if they did the closure on the side street rather than Ridge Boulevard. So that's just an informational point. So I'm going to go on.
Just one other informational point I'd like to make is that following up just on the process, I think Jill has I just want to make sure everyone's clear. Jill had sort of raised, she made a statement and sort of a question saying that, our opinion, just so everyone's clear when you're voting on this, is that we are advisory. We're just telling the DOT, these are our comments, but it is ultimately up to the Department of Transportation what they're going to grant. So just so you know what our purview is and exactly what your vote is going to mean. So Doris, yes, it's a good idea. Let's go back
Thank
to
you,
the
Lori.
vote.
Unlike many zoning issues where we have specific guidelines, here we are only advisory.
Yes.
And the committee, the committee approved the use of Bay Ridge Prep full closure with modified times and clearly identified people manning the barriers, as well as their willingness to meet with the neighbors to discuss the closure. The motion was seconded and the committee unanimously voted in favor of the motion. And the motion was to approve the closure with modified hours and communications with the neighbors. They might have been that specific, but we've gotten modified hours and we've have had discussions. So
okay,
that
but
was
in that motion, Doris, are those modified hours stated to be 10:30 to 2:20?
No, they were not. That would have to be an amendment to the motion because those specific hours
I don't
were
know if
not
the committee
discussed.
voted
Can I
on
make a
that.
friendly motion
The
to add that?
phraseology is unclear.
I would
The
like to make a
committee
friendly
did not
motion.
vote on specific hours. The committee voted that the hours be reduced, not specific hours.
Okay,
Motion?
that's the
Want me to
committee's
reread the
recommendation.
motion?
Yes, but I would like to move to amend the motion to add those specific hours.
I would second that.
And
Okay.
location, and the location
Okay.
change as well?
Just for
I think
clarity,
that's
this is not,
reasonable.
just for clarity, this is just a vote for our recommendation. So we recommend those.
Right.
Yeah.
But what about half the street then? That should be in there too.
Well, that someone mentioned that the reduced, so the original motion was to approve the closure with modified times, and we can now define the modified times from 10:30 to 2:20, with full closure only from noon, it was less than noon to 1. Charlie, you there? What were the expected hours for lunch?
12:15 to 1.
12:15 to
12:15
1.
to 1 o'clock.
And can you define
So-
the location of what the streets are limited to? So is it full closure on Ridge Boulevard and just the street up to the borderline of the school on 81st Street, or what?
That would be correct. Just the property in front of the school.
Except for 45 minutes.
Correct.
45 minutes to the whole block, and is that for safety of the children, or they're actually going to let the children stream up the whole block?
Those 40 minutes are the times where the students are, given the number of students who are eating lunch and during that time, and just to give them some outdoor time, it's just the volume of students would be hard to fit right in front of the school. You know, we can also take a look at that and pull that in if possible. So, but that's what we felt we know we can do. But we're also willing to take a
So
look
it's
at
not
that.
to go all the way up to Third Avenue, they could like run up to Third Avenue. come back.
No, it's not Third Avenue.
No.
Ridge to Third, or Ridge, when you say the whole street, what street are you talking about?
We're talking about Ridge Boulevard between 81st and 82nd.
And the
Only on Ridge, Judy.
the residential side stops at the school border even when you have full street.
Could you repeat that? I couldn't hear you.
The residential street for all full opening will only go up to the border of the school, and only Ridge Boulevard is what's open full time. I thought it was reverse.
No, it would just, so Ridge Boulevard from 81st to 82nd, we would only use in front of the school for most of the hours, except during lunchtime, we would use from 81st to 82nd on Ridge Boulevard. So there'd be a 20-minute time, a 40-minute time of the whole block being used, and then the rest of the time would just be in front of the school.
It's only on Ridge, Judy.
Only
Not
on
on the
Ridge
side.
It's
Boulevard.
only on Ridge. There's nothing on the side streets.
But the barricades are there no matter what. On,
Barricades have to be there, you know, by the DOT would want the barricades there. But again, there's someone always at the barricade. If someone needs to go in and out, it's literally a 20-second thing just to move the barrier.
Mr. Fasano, could I ask you to write that in the chat, please?
Sure.
Okay, so Doris,
I'm not the chair anymore, you know. And,
but do you want me to take over?
no, I can do it. So the committee recommended to approve the use of Bay Ridge Prep full closure with modified times. And we are asking for a modification to that amendment, that the modified times be from 10:30 to 2:20 for directly in front of the school, and then from 12:15 to
Directly in
1
front of the
for
school,
the
give me
full
the
block.
address. What is directly in front of the school?
The school's property. So it would be.
The school's
It
property.
would be it would be a perpendicular line. It would be a line running perpendicular from Ridge Boulevard on the property lines of the school, if that makes sense to you.
No,
So the school's on the corner.
no, it doesn't make sense.
The school is a property line at 80.
Doesn't make sense.
No,
Where,
In
Where
front
the-
of the school's property facing Ridge.
On the sidewalk?
Ridge
No.
No, no.
What do you mean on the sidewalk? It's the
Well,
street.
I'm not
that's being
quite
closed.
sure I understand exactly what it's saying. It's in front of the school. So is it in this, is it all the way across Ridge, the boulevard, or is it just on the
Yeah.
sidewalk or just the first lane? What are we talking about?
it would be the street. It would
The
be,
street.
it would be
The
the whole
street
street
bed, Steve.
in front of the building.
If I'm not mistaken, the idea is that for the majority of the time that this open street would be running, the entirety of that one short avenue block would be closed, but to cars, but the students who would be using it wouldn't be allowed necessarily onto the other half of the block, i.e. the area not in front of the school, so as to not inconvenience any of the residents who need to get in and out of the driveways. But during lunchtime, that would have to be undone because there would be so many students. So for a brief period during lunch, the students would be on the full block, essentially.
For 40 minutes.
That's
For
exactly
40
correct.
minutes.
Yes.
And
Okay.
so that's the idea, is that open streets would technically be in effect the whole time. It's just how the school is utilizing the public open street during that period of time.
Thank you, Dan. So, okay, is everyone now clear on what the school is agreeing to do? And the motion as amended that is on. So we've had a motion to amend the committee's recommendation. Committee's recommendation was to approve. We've had a motion to amend that, to limit the times to specific times for the open streets from 10:30 to 2:20. And Mr. Fasano is saying, however, the use during that time, so the barriers would remain up that full time. However, the school's use during that time, he would limit to that area of Ridge Boulevard only in front of the school. So the part of the school that fronts Ridge would be used as Dan just stated. Is that?
But yes, but does that mean that the residents would still have to have somebody standing there to open up the barriers at the end of the streets
Yes.
in order to get out?
Yes.
Could
Yes.
I would
Because-
I would move to amend to, instead of saying that this is approved, that it is that we think it should be denied unless they do those things.
correct.
It's advisory, so we can phrase it that way. That's fine. It's not the same as with an SLA application, but if you feel that makes it clear, I think that would just be a friendly amendment, just as to the manner of stating our position. All right, so.
And that is also consistent with Bay Ridge Prep's policy. They have hired people assigned to just deal with barriers.
Okay, so I think hopefully we're all clear on that, and I would like to call the question. So we made, so all in favor of the committee's recommendation with the amendments that we've just discussed.
Wait. I'm sorry. We're voting. I think I just voted wrong. Okay. Say it again.
Okay, so the motion now, we would be saying, the board would deny, right, the open streets.
The application, the request,
But we're not, but our recommendation would be to deny that application unless the school agrees to those time limitations and spatial limitation uses as we've just stated.
And to have manned people manning the barriers.
Yeah, I think that we've had that in there, and that the school.
So could you clarify what voting in favor?
That's what I want to know, because then I have to change
In
my
favor
vote.
would be saying, yes, we want to give you this. We're in favor of this application, except with these restrictions that we've just discussed.
Okay, could I have the slate again?
Me too. I need to change my vote. I'm
All
sorry.
right, so I'm going to start it all over again.
Okay,
So
we're
it's now
starting
started
from
from
the
the
top.
Josephine, I didn't get a second one. Did you get my first one?
No, the second one is up now, Jill. So how are
I
you
don't have-
voting in favor?
I don't have anything up.
Okay, well, it's up on my end.
Oh, okay. Well, did you see my vote?
Yes, in favor.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Did you see mine?
Okay, was everyone else able to get their slate? Everyone else got it?
Yeah.
I haven't received mine, June Johnson.
Okay, well, June, how do you vote? I'll add you in.
I vote against.
You're opposed. Okay,
Jo-
Jonathan?
Josephine,
Yes?
it's Joe.
Thank you.
Yes, hi, Joe.
I'm against.
Joe opposed. Okay.
Okay, does everybody else get their vote?
John,
Yes.
Okay.
anyone else? Jonathan, how do you vote?
Did you receive mine?
I don't see it here. How did you vote?
Opposed.
Okay, he is there.
You see mine, Nicholas Bassett?
I can't see the votes on my end. Just, we won't get it till tomorrow, but I don't know, should we have to grab it now? Okay, so it's 18 in favor and 13 opposed. So, so it carries. The in favors.
How did Nick Massive vote again?
He voted. Nick, we're just gonna double check your vote. How did you vote?
I voted opposed.
Okay.
Wait, and Julie, you just put something in the chat. Are you all?
I don't know. I'm not usually like this, but I'm like, was very confused. I am against having the street open. So I don't know.
So
if
you're
that meant-
opposed.
Then you're
opposed. Okay. I'm
Okay,
so
so Josephine,
sorry.
do you have your tally now?
Julie, you have jet lag.
I know I should be over that by now, Jill.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's
Okay,
okay. Go
as
ahead.
it stands now, I have the 18 in favor and 14 opposed. So
Okay.
that kind of adds up to our numbers. We're gonna double check that. Dorothy's doing it now, so we can move on to the next agenda item while we're doing that. Okay, Doris,
And you might be surprised, but that was the easy part of the meeting.
Let's go.
Okay. So. The next was the committee moved on to the next full street closure for high school telecommunications, arts and technology for the full closure of 67th Street between 3rd and 4th Avenue from 7:45 and 4:45. Photos of the street were provided and it was stated that 67th Street is a long block. No one from the high school was present to speak on behalf of the closure. There were many, many, many residents there, and they were all opposed. The majority, there was no support for this street closure. The feeling was that they are a high school and students are not in need of street closures. They can walk across the street to the park. The street closures close the street off for a very active church on the block. Many people from the church were in attendance and all stated very similar narratives and opinions. They were also residents on the block opposed to the closure. After a short public session, the committee discussed the application and voted the following motion. The board advises to deny the full street closure for 67th Street. There are parks located across the street for the high school. There is significant hardship for the church located next door and to the residents on the block. There is also added risk with a fire station located in close proximity to the street closure. So the committee voted to deny this request.
Okay, so you met in quorum. The motion is on the floor. Do we have any questions or comments?
I have a
Stella,
statement.
go ahead. I wasn't sure if you had your hand up. Go
Yes.
ahead, Stella.
Thank you. Now, it's a different situation for the 67th Street and the other that we discussed so detailedly before. The 67th Street accommodates, as you said, the fire department, the church, and the residents. And those kids, they're not kindergarten. They're not going to stay there if you close the street. I don't understand why they're requesting that. The high school students, they work with their friends, girlfriends all over the park. They don't need that service to close. There's no question to close. They're high school, and this is for the full year. How can you close a street for the full year? That application should be denied by the city, by any kind with a brain. I'm sorry to say that.
Okay,
They
thank
don't
you,
need
Stella.
it.
That was very much the opinion of the committee, and there was a very strong feeling that open street should not be considered on any block with the church.
Okay, thank you,
and
Stella.
so-
Jill, I'd
so
like to
we
just
vote-
move us along, Doris. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jill.
Yes,
You're muted. Jill, you're muted.
I agree. I agree. However, I just note that, high school students are still kids and they do need outdoor time and they do need exercise. So unfortunately, this probably won't go through, but that's just a comment that I felt like I wanted to make.
Okay, thanks, Jill. Anybody else? I don't see any hands up. So if there are no hands up, I'm going to call the question because I think probably a lot of this was hashed out in conjunction with the last motion. So, all right, we're going to vote. Calling the question. So the committee's recommendation, Doris, just so everyone was clear.
the committee's recommendation was to deny the application for many reasons. One, because it's a church. One, because it's used by the fire department. And two, there's park space right across the street.
Okay, so just so everyone's clear, if you vote on your ballot in favor, that means you want to deny this application. Okay, and if you're voting opposed, it means that you want to grant the application, just so everybody's clear. Okay. So Joe, just let me know when you've got everybody's.
Josephine,
Yes,
Josephine, in
yes.
favor.
Okay, so we have 24 in favor, 4 opposed, with 1 recusal.
Okay, very good. So that motion carries. And now,
Josephine?
Yes.
Senya.
Hi, Senya.
Hi, my dear. I'm sorry I interrupted you, Lori.
No, go ahead.
Of course, I messed up my vote, right? So.
Okay.
Oh, come on.
All right, give me a minute, my nod.
Join the club.
All right. And I don't have jet lag. Okay, so I'm against this, okay?
Okay, got it.
All
So you're
right,
voting
thank
in
you.
favor. Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, ciao.
We'll make sure that, bye-bye.
okay. All right. So thank you. That ends the TNT report. And now we're on to, is there any old business? Nothing. Any new business?
Yay.
Nothing. Do we have a motion?
I have
to
new
adjourn?
business. I have new business.
Go ahead,
Oh.
Doris.
Sorry.
I don't know. You're not making friends here with this, Doris. Go.
Well, I'm sorry. It's an issue that's not come up, but it has been an important issue in our community for the last 2 weeks, where mail has been stolen from the Fort Hamilton post office. Not just mail put in mailboxes, but mail deposited in the post office that has disappeared. And there were many reports, and I'm one of the victims. Mail that my husband walked to the post office, put inside the post office, never, 10 checks disappeared, totaling $4,700. And the police department's aware of it. The post office is blasé about it. And it's very important that our community knows about this dangerous issue in our community.
Thank you very much, Doris. Habib?
Yes. Again, good evening. On the 26th of April, my Maradis is holding an iftar dinner at Beit al-Maqdis Islamic Center in memories of Dr. Jabber. I would love for you guys, especially the president, and everybody else to attend. It will be a great thing to see you there.
Thank you
Joseph.
very much, Habib.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Larry, I see you've got your hand up.
My Laura came upon an article in Real Deal that the Gandas family is assembling the ex-Century 21 site. It's supposed to be a big retail complex planned for the former Brooklyn flagship. This is made.
Yes.
Just letting you know that that'll be in the future. We'll have a lot of meetings about that.
Yes, that's right.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Larry.
Thank you,
Okay, anyone else? I don't see any hands up. So I would call for a motion to adjourn.
So
Yes.
moved.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got everybody. So, okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you very, very much.